Israel is dealing with a wave of terror. 11 people have been killed in stabbings and shootings in just 1 week. 2 attacks were carried out by Arab Israelis linked to ISIS, another by a Palestinian gunman allied to Fatah, the party of the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. And security analysts say that Hamas is pulling the strings and is inciting further violence. So there are multiple challenges for the security forces here. To talk more about that, I'm joined by Adam Hoffman, ISIS researcher at the Moshe Dayan Center at Tel Aviv University. Thank you for being with us. Good evening to you. So let's start then with the ISIS factor, if you will. Security forces here have detained dozens of people with links to Daesh. Will that be enough to stop further attacks?
Well, thank you so much for having me this evening. I think, first of all, what we see here, what we've seen here for the past few days in terms of this ISIS connection is extremely concerning. It's something we haven't seen before in terms of the intensity and the high profile, the public nature of these links to ISIS. And so far, I mean, looking in the past few years, especially looking in the early years of ISIS, 2014, 2015, then the ISIS connection to Israel or the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been extremely limited, but that seems to have changed the past week or so. So I think that the Shin Bet and Israel security services more broadly have, a right reason to worry about this, worrying developments. In terms of these arrests, will it be enough? It's, it's too early to tell. I would say that for the most part. But I think that what we've seen is kind of emergence of ISIS-affiliated attackers and attacks in these past few days, especially in Hadera, it clearly indicated there's a deeper problem, some kind of broader support network for the idea of ISIS, if not ISIS, organizationally, as an actual entity. And that's, in a sense, it's far more difficult to tackle and far more worrying as long-term trend than an actual organizational link to ISIS per se.
Right, because, I mean, I was in Paris during 2015, 2016, when attacks were carried out in the name of ISIS there. The Palestinians seem to be a little late to the game, as it were. Why is it happening now? And are these attacks being instructed by ISIS, or is this just more of an inspirational thing?
Well, these are great questions. I'm sure that every, Israel security official in the past week or so has been trying to answer these very same questions. I think what we see in the case of these type of ISIS attacks, which have some kind of formal link to ISIS, and have been actually, published or claimed by ISIS more officially, which we haven't really seen before in Israel per se, clearly pointed there's some kind of connection to ISIS, but it still remains more of a low-level operation, ISIS operation, compared to obviously the Paris attacks and other more high-profile attacks, such as the one in the, in Manchester a few years ago, but mainly attacks in Belgium and the airport, and of course the Paris attack. So this is less sophisticated. We're talking about two persons, two attackers. Seems to be very amateurish from the video they posted in terms of their pledge of allegiance to ISIS. So this is clearly a very concerning development, but it's not something which is on par with more formal ISIS attacks that we've seen, especially in Europe, looking back a few years ago. But this is something which you want to tackle right now and not wait for it to develop in something far more dangerous down the road.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about Tuesday's attack in Bnei Brak, the deadliest attack this week. That was carried out by a member of Fatah, the party of Mahmoud Abbas. But the Palestinian president condemned the attack. How do you square that?
Well, I think that, as we've seen more and more talks, especially with the Negev summit just concluded just a few days ago, of the two-state solution, some kind of, regional integration of Israel with other Arab states, and all of the momentum of the Abraham Accords, any talk of diplomacy which would eventually maybe include also the Palestinians and the PA under Mahmoud Abbas, would make, President Abbas look very, very bad if there is an actual, connection to Fatah. So I think it's very clear to understand that he would like to distance himself from any notion of violence, extremism, or any kind of bloodshed against Israelis, which is connected to Fatah. So it's something which is more of an inconvenience that he felt the pressure to condemn. Also, according to some reports by Israeli authorities who were urging him to speak up against this attack. Regarding the momentum of any possible, return to peace talks or two-state solution down the road.
Where does Hamas fit into all this? Are they calling the shots here? Do they have a strategy? What's their hand in all of this?
Well, I think if there's one thing that we've learned from past, almost 20 years of, Israel-Hamas relations, even before that, but especially in more recent years, that Hamas is an extremely pragmatic organization or movement. So they do have their Islamist ideology, and no, they're not big fans of Israel or Jews more broadly, but they're very flexible in terms of how they maneuver in political reality. So I think that what we've seen here is the start of a momentum, which we've seen already last week, with attacks against Israelis by individuals, by Israeli Arabs or Palestinians affiliated to various groups. And I think that Hamas is trying to hitchhike on that, basically to channel that kind of momentum of violence and more overly violent atmosphere altogether against Israel to its own ends. But Israel is more of a convenient target here. And has every interest to stop it. And Hamas, I think, is enjoying the momentum, which at the moment also deflects any criticism, political or otherwise, from Hamas as a governing actor in Gaza towards Israel, and is very convenient. It's very convenient for him to bless these attacks and to try to congratulate these attackers.